In more than 30 years as an exorcist, I have seen things I cannot fully describe. Things that shook me to my core and ultimately strengthened my faith beyond anything I had imagined. What I am about to share with you is not a horror story. It is all warning and a promise of hope. Welcome to Holy Defenders, your Catholic apologetics channel. Today we draw on 3 expert sources, including Father Carlos Spahn, who has performed over 10,000 exorcisms, Father Chad Ripperger and Father Javier Luzón, 3 of the most experienced exorcists alive. This is their urgent warning. For every Christian, let's begin. Before anything else, we have to name the most dangerous idea in the modern church, that the devil does not exist. Father Spahn says it plainly. After 30 years, the enemy's greatest victory has been convincing educated, well-meaning people, including priests, that he is a myth. Father Ripperger confirms it. Before the 1960s, nearly every Catholic diocese had an exorcist. Then psychology took over, the supernatural was dismissed, and the enemy walked right through the door. 23% of the Gospels involve Christ dealing with demons directly. This is not a marginal topic. It is central. What are demons? Father Ripperger explains it precisely. Demons are fallen angels, pure spirits, created with perfect knowledge, who rejected God with full understanding. They are preternatural, not supernatural. They cannot work true miracles, but they can do things that look miraculous to us. What makes them dangerous is not raw power. They do not have unlimited power. What makes them dangerous is intelligence. Their knowledge is infused. They know the essence of everything in creation the moment they think about it. They know your psychological weaknesses, your history of sin. And they have been studying you since the day you were born. Here is the key. They are completely subject to Christ. Every single one. This slide reframes fear. Demons are powerful but bounded. Christ is not one power among many. He is the authority. Let that assurance settle before moving on. How does the enemy gain a foothold? Father Spahn and Father Luzón both point to the same root, sign. Every serious sin is a door, not a metaphor, a real spiritual opening. Father Luzón describes 6 entry points he calls the 6 doors. The first is grave sin, abortion, murder, involvement in the occult, explicit pacts with the enemy. Father Spahn is direct. Each grave sin gives the demon permission to draw closer. The more permissions accumulate, the more influence grows. This is not crude punishment. It is the logic of a world where choices have real consequences, even ones you cannot see. Father Luzón's 6 doors map how the enemy enters. Door 1, grave sin. Door 2, contact with the occult, tarot, ouija, curanderos, spiritism, objects in your home whose origin you don't know. Door 3, unresolved resentment. The word itself says it, resentia, to keep feeling the wound. Then doors for 5 and 6 are ones you did not choose, curses sent against you. Emotional wounds from the womb or childhood abuse. And ancestral spiritual burdens passed through family lines. Father Luzón makes an important point. Even saints have been affected through these last 3 doors. Being holy does not make you immune. It makes you protected, which is different. One of the most practical warnings from all 4 sources: look around your home. Objects matter. Dream catchers, the evil eye, tarot cards, African masks, Egyptian death masks, occult crystals, these are not just questionable aesthetics. Father Luzón discovered this blessing the home of a child who could not sleep. The parents said there was nothing strange. When he walked into the bedroom, he found figures, dragons. 5-pointed stars on every piece of clothing and dark occult imagery everywhere. He quietly removed it all. That night, the child slept soundly for the first time in months. Objects are not neutral. They carry spiritual weight. This is the Church's consistent teaching across 2,000 years. Father Spahn's model explains exactly how the enemy operates. Demons cannot enter your soul. They cannot touch your intellect or will directly. What they can reach are your senses, your imagination, and your memory. They work from the outside inward, placing images, stirring memories, heightening emotions to lead you freely to consent to something you should not. The sin must be yours. They can propose. They cannot force. Father Ripperger adds one sobering refinement: they know your psychological patterns better than you do, every tendency, every weak point, every wound. But God acts from the inside out. He speaks from the depths of the soul, quietly and suavely. The more recollected we are, the more we hear him. How do you recognize genuine possession? Father Ripperger insists certainty only comes when you pray and observe a preternatural reaction. The primary signs: speaking fluently in languages never studied. Father Ripperger has had demons speak Phoenician, dead for 3,500 years. Knowledge of hidden things, knowing what happened in another room, exposing unconfessed sins of people present. Superhuman physical strength, a frail 80-year-old woman throwing for strong men across a room. And physical transformation: the face changes, pupils go completely black. A cherrywood skin tone appears that no human being can produce naturally. These are not movie effects. They are documented clinical observations witnessed by multiple people simultaneously. Father Ripperger breaks possession into two causes. First, you opened the door yourself through grave sin, occult involvement, or an explicit pact. Second, something severe happened to you that you did not choose. Nearly half his cases involve women who suffered rape, serious abuse, or extreme trauma. He says this with pastoral tenderness. These women, in fighting their way through, often become some of the holiest people he has ever known. The battle becomes the forge. Christ permits it not as cruelty, but as the most intense form of purification. The enemy is being used against his own will as an instrument of sanctification. Father Ripperger describes 5 powerful demons under Satan he calls generals, whose mission is to execute his plans in the world. First, Baal, the spirit of fornication. When a nation normalizes sexual immorality, it cedes ground to Baal, then Asmodeus, the demon of homosexuality in men. Then Lilith and Leviathan for women. And finally Baphomet or Moloch, the demon of child sacrifice. When a nation legalizes abortion, says Father Ripperger, these 5 generals receive real spiritual authority over it. They empower the people who keep those doors open. And that, he says, is why dismantling those structures feels politically almost impossible. Father Ripperger makes an observation about culture that stops you cold. The psychological patterns of demonic behavior and the patterns of communist ideology are, once you strip the labels away, identical. The demon presents temptation as something wonderful: pleasure, freedom, power. You yield. And then it drags you down. Communism presents itself as utopia. Equality, peace, no worries. You allow it, and then it destroys you. The pattern is exact: promise a paradise, deliver a trap. This is not a political opinion. It is a clinical observation from a man who has sat across from both and watched the same playbook unfold each time. Father Ripperger draws a startling connection between demonic influence and addiction. Addiction has 3 components: a brain mechanism, habits built around it, and potentially a demonic layer on top of both. The enemy exploits and amplifies addictive tendencies. They block your memory of the damage, keeping you fixed only on the pleasure. Father Ripperger treated a woman for possession. The demon's last remaining hold, she could not go a single day without a soda. The moment the possession broke, the craving vanished entirely. He is clear, not all addiction is demonic. But in possession cases, demonic amplification of addictive patterns is nearly universal. Father Ripperger is explicit about pornography in a way few voices will be. The increase in obsession and possession cases directly linked to it has been dramatic and ongoing. An exorcist he knows interrogated a demon and asked how it had entered. The answer: pornography. After the session, the man described the exact moment. He watched one specific video and something clicked. From that point, he felt a compulsive, uncontrollable need to watch everything that woman had ever made. That is not psychology. That is possession. Father Ripperger adds, much online pornography is ritually cursed by Satanists to heighten its addictive power. Flee it, completely no exceptions. Father Ripperger observes that demons pursue people in positions of authority with special intensity, in the church, in government, in media. Their logic is simple: control one person at the top and you damage thousands. Most Christian leaders enter power with good intentions, but when they arrive, demonic attention intensifies. The enemy knows their weaknesses, places distorted perspectives in their imagination, and pushes people already compatible with demonic psychology into seeking those positions. The answer is not cynicism, it is prayer. Pray for your leaders. Do not merely denounce them. Prayer costs the enemy the power he has over them. Father Spahn warns that the enemy uses confusion as a weapon. During exorcisms, demons claim to be a dead relative, a saint, even the Virgin Mary herself, giving specific instructions to the exorcist. Father Spahn learned this early. When Mary appears in a session giving orders, ignore it. Wait for the liberation to be complete, then discern. Father Ripperger agrees demons answer theological questions with terrifying precision because their knowledge is infused. But they lie constantly. The exorcist must trust the Church's 2,000-year tradition over any private revelation that arrives mid-session. The Church is wise. Individual imagination is not. Here is one of the most powerful statements in this video. One confession is worth 1,000 exorcisms. Why? Because sign is the root, not the symptom, the root. The enemy enters through permission granted by serious sin. Remove the sin through genuine, complete, humble confession, and you remove the ground on which the enemy stands. Father Spahn says it equally directly. 80% of an exorcism is a good confession. He has seen months of sessions with no progress simply because the person would not fully confess one sin. The moment they did, everything broke. Confession is the most powerful weapon the Church possesses. Then you should do it frequently. Prayer is not a supplement to spiritual protection. It is its structure. Father Ripperger's Society of Exorcist Priests prays 3 to 4 hours daily to maintain their union with Christ. He says, when you are fully united with Him, you are safe. The moment you think the power comes from you, you become vulnerable. Father Luzón calls on the 5 stones Our Lady described at Medjugorje. The weapons David used to defeat Goliath, prayer, especially the Rosary. Penance and sacrifice, confession, the Eucharist, and formation in the Word of God. These are not optional extras. They are the armor every Christian wears into a battle that is already happening. Father Luzón witnessed it repeatedly invoke the Virgin Mary in an exorcism, and the demons flee. He notes something striking. Our Lady never looks at the demons. She always looks at God, and the demons run not from her gaze, but from her presence. During one session, a demon cried out while the rosary was being prayed, "Her mother is here. Mary, I cannot bear it," and left. Father Ripperger confirms the same across decades. The rosary is not a devotional preference. It is, according to every exorcist in these sources, the most feared weapon the laity possesses. Pray it every day. Jesus said it plainly. Some demons can only be expelled with prayer and fasting. Father Ripperger takes this completely seriously. He fasts 6 days a week, one moderate meal in the evening, when conducting sessions. Why? Because fasting brings the body under submission. When your body is ordered, the enemy's suggestions are easier to detect and reject. You become more sensitive to attack, in the same way someone who has stopped swearing is shocked to hear it later. That sensitivity is itself protection. The body becomes a defender, not a liability. Fasting is not medieval piety. It is targeted spiritual warfare, and it is open to everyone. Father Luzón makes a point that shocks many Catholics. The rite of baptism contains an actual exorcism, not a metaphor or prayer asking God to expel all demonic influence from the child. Every child arrives carrying weight, original sin, the spiritual inheritance of ancestors, influences from the pregnancy. The baptismal exorcism addresses all of it. Father Luzón urges parents to baptize their children as soon as possible after birth. Do not wait for the perfect date or the perfect party. The greatest gift you can give your newborn is to make them a son or daughter of God before the enemy has a single moment longer. If confession is the most powerful weapon against the enemy, the Holy Mass is the altar on which that weapon is forged. When you attend Mass and receive Holy Communion in a state of grace, you receive what the enemy cannot counterfeit and cannot survive in its presence. Father Luzón witnessed demonic obsessions break simply because a family began praying the rosary and attending Sunday Mass together. No exorcist involved. Just the ordinary life of grace, which properly lived, is extraordinary spiritual warfare. Never reduce Mass to a habit. It is an encounter with the one who has already won. Show up, receive, offer. One of the most important truths in this conversation, being attacked by the enemy, is not a sign of God's absence. It can be a sign of the opposite. Father Luzón cites Mother Teresa of Calcutta, attacked near the end of her life with an oppression so severe that a doctor asked the Archbishop to call an exorcist. He came, prayed, and she recovered. Padre Pio was physically assaulted by demons his whole life. Father Ripperger says God uses the enemy as an instrument of sanctification. He told a demon during a session, "I am making you an instrument of her holiness." The demon confirmed it was true. Enraged. Every exorcist in these sources returns to the same virtue, humility. Father Luzón received a word from Our Lady about the sword given him for spiritual battle. She said, "The handle is very small. It can only be held by the hand of a small child, humble, innocent, looking not at the demons, but at God." Father Spahn says the same from long experience. You are not doing the exorcism. The Church's Christ is. The moment an exorcist thinks Tao, he is in danger. The moment you believe your spiritual victories belong to you, so are you. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment if you know of any testimonies related to the topic we discussed. And share this video so more people can learn how to protect themselves from the enemy. May the Blessed Virgin Mary protect you and cover you with her mantle.